This is the actual audio of the boos that the Markles received.
Everyone is asking the same question: what changed? Because for years we heard that the obstacle that was standing between Harry, Meghan, and these children was the UK thing around security. You talk about a woman bringing the ghetto into the royal family. This right here is on full display ghetto, what is happening.
Meghan Markle to return to the UK, that's an admission of professional defeat. That's an admission of we need help, in my opinion.
For days, Meghan was reportedly in the very country her husband still calls home. Yet not a single camera caught her. No arrival photo, no wave from a passing car, not even a distant paparazzi shot. That's unusual for someone connected to one of the most watched families in the world, where even the most private visits often end up making headlines. For a woman whose public image has long been built around carefully planned appearances, polished visuals, and tightly controlled moments disappearing, this completely doesn't feel like simple coincidence. It looks deliberate. And once you put every part of this visit together piece by piece, a much bigger question begins to emerge. What was she preparing herself to avoid? Here is what is actually confirmed by multiple sources before we get into any of the surrounding theory and speculation, because it genuinely matters to keep those two categories clearly separated throughout this discussion. Harry and Meghan reportedly brought Archie and Lilibet to the UK for this visit. Charles and Camilla reportedly met the family at Highgrove for what the palace described only as a private occasion. No photos were released, and no statement went beyond confirming the meeting took place.
Well, we are as well, to see if they'll come on stage and show themselves, but I doubt it. I really don't think so. I mean, the trip has really been a train wreck, as Kinsey says, and I don't know if Meghan wants herself associated with this massive loss. I mean, how can we trust anything Harry ever says again, including what he says about his family, if he's been proven to have basically put falsehoods to the court?
Reports also claim the children arrived separately from Meghan instead of the family entering together, an unusual detail that has raised plenty of questions before we even reach the theories. Harry had reportedly seen his father in person only a couple of times during the previous 2.5 years, a significant gap for a son whose father has been managing serious health challenges. So whatever this trip ultimately means beneath all the speculation, that reunion between a father and his son remains a genuinely human moment that deserves to be acknowledged on its own. But Meghan staying completely out of sight throughout this multi-day visit is the part that many covering the story have yet to explain in a satisfying way. It deserves a closer look instead of being quickly overshadowed by the warmer Highgrove reunion narrative. Here is a theory worth naming clearly and taking seriously, because many believe it is the strongest explanation currently on the table. Stronger than simple scheduling or ordinary caution. Some royal watchers believe she's not avoiding cameras because she is shy or because there was genuinely nothing worth photographing. The moment Meghan steps back into public view in the UK, the entire conversation could change. Some believe she has carefully calculated every possible outcome and concluded that none of them works in her favor. Think about what she would actually be walking into if she made even a brief public appearance during this trip.
We know Meghan was adamant that she was staying put in California, would never ever put a foot back onto English soil again unless someone was going to put a crown on her head. Maybe that's what she thinks is going to happen in the future. But things have changed. Right, we have to go back a little bit back in time with this, Mark, to explain it. But Meghan and Harry's American dream, their Californian dream, hasn't worked out, hasn't gone to plan. Plan B is we've got to curry favour again with the king because we may one day need to call on his services.
This is someone who has spent years arguing that the UK is not a safe place for her family. That was not just a single comment in an interview. It became part of a lengthy legal battle over the level of security she and Harry believe they should receive as private citizens who once carried official royal roles. That creates a difficult position for her. If she appears publicly and the crowd is warm and welcoming, it could weaken years of arguments about the need for enhanced protection, because a friendly crowd does not suggest an immediate security concern. But if the reaction is cold, loud, or openly hostile, those images could follow her for years, replayed across future headlines and social media every time this family returns to the news. There really is no clear outcome that works completely in her favor. If that is the position she believes she is in, and many think the evidence increasingly points that way, then the safest move becomes obvious. Simply stay out of public view, and neither outcome has the chance to happen. Some believe that if she appeared in public during this visit, she could have faced a hostile reception, possibly on a scale similar to what some commentators have predicted Harry himself might receive. That does not mean any reaction could be known in advance.
What will Meghan make of this defeat in the High Court yesterday, which, by the way, is on top of January 2024, when Harry withdrew his legal action against the publishers of the Mail on Sunday in regard to their coverage of his request for armed royal protection. He changed his mind on that one, and he had to pay £750,000 worth of costs of the Mail, and probably the same amount for himself. So he's been here before.
Because it cannot. But commentators had been publicly discussing that possibility for months, long before this visit was announced. Based on her actions, some believe she took those predictions seriously instead of brushing them aside. One brand and reputation management expert put it plainly weeks before this visit even took place. A cool reception, perhaps even audible boos from a crowd, was described as a real possibility if she appeared somewhere, while emotions were already running unusually high, as they clearly were during that particular week. What if staying out of sight wasn't about privacy at all, but about avoiding a moment that could change everything? That is the question many people keep asking. Nobody can say with certainty what would have happened if Meghan had appeared publicly, but some believe that uncertainty itself may be exactly why she chose not to stay anywhere in public long enough to find out. Stay with me, because the timing of this trip makes that theory much more compelling than it would be on its own. This visit took place during the very same week Harry lost his privacy case against the publisher of the Daily Mail. That was a real court ruling after a full hearing, with legal costs reportedly reaching around £50 million when both sides of the litigation are taken into account. Harry described the ruling as a complete and obvious whitewash.
I don't think she wants to be on the arm of a loser. And what does Meghan Markle do when Harry's going through difficult times publicly? She disappears. When you think about how Jimmy Kimmel was tearing into him over Spare, and he's trying to promote, where's Meghan when he's promoting Spare? She disappears. Where was Meghan when he lost his rabbit case, when he sat down and was reaming the royal family to the BBC? Meghan mysteriously disappears.
While speaking to reporters outside the courthouse, those were his own words, and they reflected just how frustrated he appeared. If Meghan had stepped into public view during that same week, she would have been entering an atmosphere already shaped by a very public legal defeat, with Harry's remarks still dominating headlines. If the theory that she was preparing for a hostile reaction has any merit, then this may have been one of the least favorable weeks in recent years to test the mood of the public. So, perhaps not surprisingly, she remained out of sight. There is another layer to this story that has received far less attention. It involves finances, and it is important to separate reported information from unconfirmed speculation. Harry was also in the UK for Invictus Games Foundation events. Reports from several sources have suggested the foundation has faced the loss of some major sponsors in recent seasons, potentially increasing pressure on fundraising and grant-related support. If those reports are accurate, then a high-profile Sussex appearance could carry real value by attracting donor attention and renewed public interest. That possibility leads to a genuinely uncomfortable question, and it is one that deserves to be considered carefully instead of being brushed aside in favor of a simpler, more comfortable explanation. At this point, can any move Harry and Meghan make still be viewed as purely personal? Or does every appearance and every decision to stay out of sight also involve a second calculation about headlines, public attention, and how that attention could affect future projects or fundraising efforts? The truth is, I cannot say with certainty what is really driving those decisions, and I do not think anyone outside their closest circle can either. Plenty of commentators speak as though they know exactly what is happening behind closed doors, but those remain theories, not established facts. If you want updates as this story develops, instead of hearing about them days later through misleading clips, that is exactly what subscribing to this channel is for. This story is moving faster than most. Some royal watchers believe Harry and Meghan may not have been completely aligned on what this visit was meant to accomplish. It is a theory that deserves more attention because it could explain many of the mixed signals surrounding the trip. The idea is that Harry genuinely wants his children to maintain a connection with their grandfather and with their family history, especially given King Charles's ongoing health challenges. Meghan, according to this theory, may have different priorities and less interest in remaining closely connected to the royal institution at this stage of her life and career. If that interpretation is correct, it could explain the repeated pattern of uncertainty surrounding recent UK visits far better than simple scheduling issues ever could. It might also explain why Harry spent the week attending public events, speaking with people, and appearing before cameras, while Meghan remained completely out of public view. That would mean two people were taking part in what appeared to be the same family trip, while quietly approaching it with very different goals and priorities. There is also another comparison worth making. Many people immediately compare Meghan to Diana whenever royal headlines appear, whether the situations are truly similar or not. But a far more relevant comparison during this particular week may be Meghan and Harry themselves, viewed side by side during the exact same 7-day period. The biggest contrast from this trip may not be what Harry did, it may be what Meghan chose not to do. Harry walked into a courtroom in full public view, lost the case openly, delivered a headline-making quote, pointed toward the waiting cameras on his way out, and let the entire moment play out in front of everyone. His reputation may have taken a hit, but he still faced it in full view. If the theory about Meghan avoiding public attention has any merit, then she handled that very same week in the complete opposite way. Facing what some believe were similar public pressures, she made sure there was nothing for any camera to capture at any point during the visit. One person absorbed the public impact directly. The other appeared to remove the possibility altogether. Whether you see that as smart strategy, careful discipline, or a revealing sign of where things stand likely depends on your own perspective. There are also unverified claims circulating that some Invictus-related funds may have been used for personal expenses, including wardrobe costs. It is important to be clear about the status of those claims. They remain allegations, not confirmed findings. There has been no publicly verified audit or investigation proving them, and presenting them as established fact would be unfair. Even so, the claims have become part of the wider conversation surrounding this trip. If any part of them were ever shown to be accurate, they could provide another reason why avoiding unexpected photographs during this particular week might have seemed important. Right now, any new image of Meghan would likely be viewed through the lens of every unresolved question already surrounding this story, rather than simply as a family visit to the UK. Others believe her absence was not mainly about worrying over a hostile crowd. Instead, they argue it may have been about controlling the narrative itself, staying completely out of sight, so that any future images or footage appear only when she chooses, in a setting and format she can control, instead of being captured unexpectedly by someone's phone camera. There are also reports that Harry may visit Althorpe House, the Spencer family's ancestral estate, before the 30th anniversary of Diana's passing. According to those reports, the visit could be connected to footage for a documentary project believed to be in development. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother and the current custodian of the estate, has publicly acknowledged there has been interest surrounding such a visit. If a documentary is indeed part of the reason behind this trip, it changes how many people may interpret everything else already discussed. The low profile, the reported separate arrivals, and Meghan's complete absence from public view could all be seen as part of material being saved for a future release, rather than moments left entirely to chance. Those two explanations, a desire to avoid a hostile public reaction and a carefully managed documentary strategy, are not necessarily incompatible. Both could hold some truth at the same time, and that overlap may be exactly why this trip continues to resist any single simple explanation, no matter how strongly commentators try to settle on just one. It is also possible that more than one explanation is true at the same time. She could have been avoiding the possibility of a hostile public reaction while also protecting the timing of a future documentary or media project, and even quietly viewing the purpose of this trip differently from Harry. If all of those factors were influencing the decisions behind the scenes, they would all lead to the exact same visible result: nothing. No public appearance, no released photograph, no unexpected sighting, and no public comment during the entire visit. When only one theory tries to explain an absence like this, it remains just that, a theory. It may sound reasonable, but it is still unconfirmed. However, when several different theories, each coming from completely different angles, all point toward the exact same outcome, that absence naturally attracts more attention. It begins to look less like coincidence and more like the result of a carefully considered decision, even if nobody outside the people directly involved knows the real reason. There is another reason this story continues to generate so much discussion. The absence itself has become part of the headline. Normally, public attention centers on what someone did or said during a royal visit. This time, many conversations focused on what was not seen. Sometimes, in stories involving the royal family, what remains unseen creates just as many questions as what happens in front of the cameras. If you have noticed a detail that has not been discussed by major news outlets or television panels, share it in the comments. More than once during this long-running royal story, viewers have spotted connections between dates, public appearances, and official statements long before they became part of the wider conversation. So where does all of this leave the story? Eventually, every theory has to face future events. If the idea that she is avoiding public appearances because of concerns over public reaction is accurate, then people may continue to see her stay away from UK appearances while Harry attends events on his own. If the theory is wrong, future visits may tell a very different story. Either way, time will provide more answers than speculation ever can. The next visit will likely be watched even more closely than this one. Every arrival, every departure, every official engagement, and every unexpected appearance will probably be examined for clues. That is simply the reality when every public move becomes part of a much larger conversation surrounding the royal family. Some also believe these separate appearances reflect different priorities. Harry appears focused on maintaining personal family connections and supporting causes like the Invictus Games, while Meghan may be placing greater importance on protecting her public image and choosing exactly when and where she is seen. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it is one explanation that continues to be discussed by many royal commentators. Others disagree completely. They argue there could be practical reasons that have never been made public, and that trying to interpret every absence risks reading too much into limited information. That is also worth keeping in mind. Until more verified details emerge, there will always be unanswered questions, and those unanswered questions naturally leave room for different interpretations. When you strip away every theory, every opinion, and every rumor, a few facts remain. Harry returned to the UK, appeared in court, lost a high-profile legal case, spoke publicly afterward, and allowed the entire experience to unfold in front of cameras. Meghan, meanwhile, either remained completely out of public view, or depending on which reports prove accurate, avoided every situation that could have produced a public image. In a family where nearly every movement is photographed, analysed and debated, leaving behind virtually no visual record of a multi-day visit is by itself something many people have found noteworthy. Whether that was motivated by caution, media strategy, personal preference, security concerns, or some combination of those factors is something only the people involved truly know. Until more verified information becomes available, everything else remains interpretation rather than established fact. As with many royal stories, the complete picture often does not become clear immediately. New interviews, official statements, or future public appearances sometimes change how earlier events are understood. What seems significant today may later turn out to have a straightforward explanation, while a small detail that initially received little attention could end up becoming one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. That is why it is worth following the story patiently instead of rushing to absolute conclusions. Looking at the confirmed facts while keeping an open mind about the unanswered questions usually gives the clearest picture. Right now, there are still enough missing pieces that several explanations remain possible, and only future events are likely to narrow them down. One thing is certain, though. This story is far from over, and the next development could answer some questions while raising entirely new ones. As more details emerge, it will become easier to judge which theories held up and which ones missed the mark. Now I want to hear what you think. Was Meghan's complete absence from public view mainly about avoiding unwanted attention, carefully managing future media plans, concerns over public reaction, or is there another explanation that has not received enough attention yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because some of the most interesting discussions happen there, and viewers often point out details that others overlook. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video if you found it interesting, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the latest royal stories, developments, and analysis. Turn on notifications so you're among the first to know when a major update happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.